कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिचार्य अष्टोत्तर सरस्वती डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिचार्य अष्टोत्तर डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत श्री गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवाशपति गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ, श्याम कुंड, राधा कुंड, गिरि गोधाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, मायापुर नदी धाम की जय, गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गो प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि वो। All glories assembled. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Jai Jai, thank you so much, Mahesh Pandit Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And welcome everyone for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends. Maharaj had sent me a note saying that he is traveling overnight by train. He did not say to where he was traveling or from where he was traveling, but I received his mysterious note and he said he may not be able to tune in this evening. So we're looking very much forward to hearing everyone's thoughts, realizations, and everything. It is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 in New York, and we're starting tonight with Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 3, text number 18. And I will turn the program over to our host, Mahesh Pandit Prabhu.
Thank you, Kendra Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 4 and text chapter number 3, talks between Lord Shiva and Sati, starting with text 18. Naita dashanam swajana vyapekshaya gruhan pratiyad nava sthitatmanam yat magatan vakradhiya mi chakshate आरोपित भ्रूभीर अम्रशनाक्षी yes. One should not go to anyone's house even on the consideration of his being a relative or a friend. When a man is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrow and angry eyes. However low a person may be, he is never unkind to his children, wife, and nearest kin. Even a tiger is kind to its cubs. But within the animal kingdom, the cubs are treated very nicely. Since Sati was the daughter of Daksha, however cruel and contaminated he might be, naturally it was expected that he would receive her very nicely. But here it is indicated by the word anavasthita, that such a person cannot be trusted. Tigers are very kind to their cubs, but it is also known that sometimes they eat them. Ooh. Malicious persons should not be trusted because they are always unsteady. Thus Sati was advised not to go to her father's house, because to accept such a father as a relative and go to his house without being properly invited was not suitable. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Nangete Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwam Suguru Dintaya Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Krupasiddhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. So here we are going a little further, and Lord Shiva is telling Sati not to go there. And here is he's giving one example that we just read. So I would like to have your thoughts about it.
I had a couple of thoughts, Prabhu, if I could share them.
Please go.
Prabhupada uses this word anavastata. He zeroes in on that, which means here disturbed, the opposite of which would be steady or vastita. I'm not sure how the Sanskrit would be taken apart, but that's the sort of mentality that Krishna goes to some lengths to describe in Bhagavad Gita, the sage, the Sthitadi Muni, the sage of steady mind, the person you can trust, you know what to expect from them, the person that you can be peaceful around. And Shiva has seen Daksha at his worst, and so he knows that such a person is anavastita. You can't trust him. You don't know what's going to happen. But you can guess that something that's not good is going to happen. And I was thinking about the character of Daksha, such a highly posted son of Lord Brahma, the progenitor of the universe, so much opulence. So he's expert, thus the name Daksha is there. But at the same time, he behaves in such a way that his own daughter would rather kill herself than be his daughter, which is so heavy. It's the word there of vakradhiya, means, he translates it here with a cold reception. You could also translate it as somebody who's crooked in their mind. They're just not right somehow. And Lord Shiva could perceive this, and he's trying to give his wife good advice, but the story is just going to get more and more complicated.
Right. Wow. So this is all due to the pride. So from very beginning, we have to curb that pride. That's what Bhagavad Gita recommends, pride, anger, lust, greed, all that. We have it in certain percentage, but if we try to curb that somehow, and there's a great process of chanting Hare Krishna mantra, which cleanses our heart. Not that Daksha wasn't chanting or anything, but he was actually in a great position, son of Brahma, and you can imagine how pride devours you. So from this example, we have to be very, very careful from the very beginning. Okay, we'll go text 19. Tathari vyathate shili mukhai shete dritagno rudayena duyata swanam yatha vakradiyam duruktibi dishvanisham saptati marmatanditaha. Lord Shiva continued, if one is hurt by the arrow of an enemy, one is not as aggrieved as when caught by the unkind words of a relative. For such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. Sati might have concluded that she would take the risk of going to her father's house, and even if her father spoke unkindly against her, she would be tolerant, as a son sometimes tolerates the reproaches of his parents. But Lord Shiva reminded her that she would not be able to tolerate such unkind words, because natural psychology dictates that although one can suffer harm from an enemy and not mind so much, because pain inflicted by an enemy is natural, when one is hurt by the strong words of a relative, one suffers the effect continually, day and night. And sometimes the injury becomes so intolerable that one commits suicide. So in this material world, we have so many examples of every day we hear this thing, somebody did this, somebody that, somebody did suicide, and this horrible. And one thing is forbidden is suicide, actually, because it's sinful. No matter how much trouble you are in, just tolerate. Don't do any suicide, because it's against scripture injunction, and you suffer a lot after that. Actually, you get the ghost body. So suicide is forbidden, and one just has to be tolerate somehow. And again, as I said, Yuga Dharma is Hare Krishna mantra. Just chant Hare Krishna mantra, and somehow or other you will go over it. Okay.
We have some activity in the chat box here from Priti Purna Madhavi Devi. She quotes Lord Krishna himself, who says in the Bhagavad Gita 6:35 purport, or actually this is Prabhupada speaking, hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness.
That's great.
I take it that she's referring to your previous statements about pride and how important it is to keep a level head and the mad mind.
Yeah, actually, like she said, offering our food to Krishna, it purifies and also purifies our mind by taking it. Very good. Yes, nice. Thank you.
And there are a couple things that I saw, if I could read from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Not very long, but sometimes he gives a slightly different sweet flavor here.
Yes, good.
The translation by Bhanu Swami for this verse that we just read, he says, injured in the limbs by arrows fired by enemies, one does not suffer much and can sleep. However, injured by harsh words uttered by relatives of crooked mind, one suffers day and night with distressed heart. And Panchatattva Prabhu says, harsh words are an ever-present affliction in Kali Yuga. And
somebody say, I want to take a revenge, and they just utter those harsh words, and which is very, very insulting and very harmful. Yes.
Yeah. Like he gives the example of somebody who's actually shot by arrows. It says they don't suffer much. They can sleep because it's just the body. But the nature of our relationships sometimes, especially relationships with our closest relatives, is so I want to say weighed down with karmic implications that one thing that somebody says to you can it just goes over and over and over and over again in your mind. You can't let it go. It's not like you put it, the wound heals up, you go back out. It's just the whole life.
Yeah. And thank God that Prabhupada gave us a method of overcoming that situation. Yes, you're right. And before we come to Krishna consciousness, we didn't know anything about how to get over with this thing. But by association of the devotees, hearing every day what to do, what not to do, like she mentioned, taking prasadam and chanting Hare Krishna mantra, and having association with a good very learned devotees, and somehow Krishna helps us. Thank you.
Some questions for you, Prabhu. In the chat here, Priti Purna Madhavi Devi says, how are our dealings supposed to be with such relatives?
Good question. How are our dealings with such devotees? Just give them prasadam, and as far as possible, stay away and read them something so it opens their eyes. Even they don't like it, we just harsh words.
I think one time recently, maybe not so recently, but Maharaj was speaking on this point, and he said that we have duties in this material world that extend to our relatives and so forth. But if such relatives are, as you know, Vakradiya, as Daksha is being described here, you can't trust them, you don't know what's going to come out of their mouth, then our dealings may be, I think he used the word official. Like, yes, we have our official relationship, but it's like the alligator and the monkey. You don't give them your heart.
Right.
You protect that.
Yes. And also, Prabhupada established this beautiful ISKCON community. And actually, we don't need anybody. We have all the relatives what we have, so many devotees, so many congregation, and Friday night program, Sunday program. So actually, we're not worried about that anymore, relatives. If they want to come to your home, yes, invite them and have a chant Hare Krishna. But don't go there, just invite them, or you go to devotee's house. And thank you for establishing this beautiful ISKCON. Very nice.
And I'm grateful to have you as my well-wishing uncle in this regard.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Murari Gupta Prabhu says, we erect fortifications against the outside world, but our relatives and close friends are within those fortifications, so they can wreak havoc.
Yes, yes.
Hare
So
Krishna.
there is an art how to, yes, and the more you go into Krishna consciousness, you will come over. You will come over with it.
That's very poetic, Murari Gupta Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes.
And Panchatattva Prabhu says, harsh words can precipitate a strange kind of fantasy in the mind of the offended, in which he thinks how he could have responded, how they would react, and how he would respond again. The conversation just keeps playing. I should have said this and he said that, but I really should have said that.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So instead of going into that kind of mental situation, just think about Krishna's pastime. What do you read in the morning? What are you going to, what do you read, Sunday program, or what you've been reading? You will overcome with that. But it's true. It comes, and then you become affected with this, and you unnecessarily waste your mental power on those kinds of. So instead of wasting time on that kind of thing, you just go over with it, read, open up Bhagavad Gita, read some verse, and it will solace you. Yeah. Like Gandhi said, while mind is disturbed, I open up the book Bhagavad Gita and read, and it solaces me. So just follow those examples.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you again, Prabhu. Anything else?
I was just going to suggest you may wish to invite Panchatattva Prabhu, since he's here with us tonight.
Sure, yeah. Let me just read. This is small one number 20. I'll ask him to read 21. Yes, thank you. Vyaktam gate prajapate priyatmanam asi sudru me mata tathapi manam na pitu prayasyate madasya paritasya yataha. My dear white complex wife, it is clear that of the many daughters of Daksha, you are the pet. Yet, you will not be honored at his house because of your being my wife. Rather, you will be sorry that you are connected with me. Lord Shiva put forward the argument that even if Sati proposed to go alone without her husband, still she would not be received well because she was his wife. There was every challenge of there was every chance of a catastrophe even if she wanted to go alone, would go alone. Therefore, Lord Shiva indirectly requested her not to go to her father's house. So here Lord Shiva requests her, please don't go. But it's all up to Sati what to do. So Lord Shiva just leaves it to her choice. Because Lord Shiva, in his position, he knows past, present, and future. So he could figure it out. I mean, he knew, or he would tell what will happen. And he's requesting Sati not to go. Okay. If you, Panchatattva Prabhu, text 21, please.
Pachimanena Vridat Turendriyaha Samriddhivi Purusha Buddhi Sakshinam Kalpesham Adirodum Anjasa Parang Parang Dveshti Ita Suraharim. One who is conducted by false ego and thus always distressed, both mentally and sensually, cannot tolerate the opulence of self-realized persons. Being unable to rise to the standard of self-realization, he envies such persons as much as demons envy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. The real reason for the enmity between Lord Shiva and Daksha is explained here. Daksha was envious of Lord Shiva because of Shiva's high position as an incarnation of a quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and because Shiva was directly in contact with the Supersoul, and was therefore honored and given a better sitting place than he. There were many other reasons also. Daksha, being materially puffed up, could not tolerate the high position of Lord Shiva, so his anger at Lord Shiva's not standing up in his presence was only the final manifestation of his envy. Lord Shiva is always in meditation and always perceives the Supersoul, as expressed here by the words Purusha Buddhi Sakshinam. The position of one whose intelligence is always absorbed in meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very great and cannot be imitated by anyone, especially an ordinary person. When Daksha entered the arena of Yajna, Lord Shiva was in meditation and might not have seen Daksha enter. But Daksha took the opportunity to curse him because Daksha had maintained an envious attitude towards Lord Shiva for a long time. Those who are actually self-realized see every individual body as a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature is residing in everyone's body. I would stop there momentarily for some discussion. Om Jnana Timaranda Shagananjana Salakaya Chakshramanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I mentioned earlier in that comment that a person who has been offended can sometimes go into this cycle of meditation, if you will, imagining, oh, I'm going to say this, and they're going to say that, and I'm going to respond. Well, sometimes it so happens that a person who's just plain envious does the same thing. And then when the opportunity arises to behave in such a terrible way, they take that opportunity, which is what happened here with Daksha. According to Srila Prabhupada here in the purport, Daksha had been meditating on his malevolent attitude towards Lord Shiva for quite some time. And it just took this opportunity, as misplaced as his sense of opportunity was, for him to behave in this way. He saw that Shiva didn't stand up for him. He didn't consider Lord Shiva's exalted status. He didn't even consider the possibility that Lord Shiva was in meditation, may not have noticed his entrance, etc., etc., so many things. But because his heart was contaminated with envy towards Lord Shiva, and essentially envy towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of whom Lord Shiva is an intimate devotee, and indeed an expansion. Shiva Tattva, he took this opportunity. He just couldn't control himself. So it's another aspect of envy. A person becomes out of control. They will say things that they regret later. And if they're deeply envious, they won't even regret what they said. They won't even come to the point of understanding that, as is Daksha's position, until, of course, he is properly chastised and becomes remorseful later on. After so much chaos and death and destruction takes place, and so much harm to himself, then he becomes a little, contrite. So this is the position. Krishna, on the other hand, he doesn't envy anyone at any time. He doesn't envy anyone. In the prayers of Queen Kunti, she talks about how he's impartial. He doesn't favor anyone, and he's not envious of anyone. But people just kind of superficially think, oh, he's favoring this one. He doesn't like this one. He's killing them. They can't see his transcendental status. So in a similar way, Lord Shiva is in this very exalted position. And because Daksha, his heart, is contaminated, he fails completely and utterly to understand Lord Shiva's exalted status, and instead causes so much chaos that, as we see later on, his own daughter, in frustration, gives up her life because of the connection that her body has with the body of her father. She's so disgusted that her father had committed this grievous offense to her exalted husband, that she says, I'm not keeping this body because it was produced from him, and it's, I'll have nothing to do with it. Such a calamity. And it all could have been avoided by Daksha's controlling his senses. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
All right, Krishna. I had a thought, if I could share, just based on some things you were saying there, that Daksha was seemingly waiting for this opportunity. Things were boiling under the surface, and then he just seized upon this opportunity to just let it rip, as they say, and just really, I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. I'm going to get something off my chest and onto your head. It reminded me of something I just read in Bhagavad Gita, going through this 6th chapter. And Krishna is talking about how difficult it is for somebody with an unbridled mind to achieve a state of self-realization. And one of the words he uses is durnigraham, which is difficult to curb. Graham means you grab onto it. Nigraham means you let go of it. But durnigraham means you can't let go of it. And so sometimes you see arguments get so heated, even over small things, that you're not able to just let go and be peaceful, because your mind is just taken over, and you're in the heat of battle for anyway. This whole thing is what's reminded me of that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just like when you learn how to let go things, that's the best thing to do. Yes, go ahead, Panchasa Prabhu.
Yeah, I was going to make a similar comment that you can. I'm sure at least I've had this experience multiple times where I would get angry and upset about something, and then after some time passes and the anger subsides, I come to realize that that was all a waste of time.
Yes.
And becoming sorry, I approach that person and beg their forgiveness. And it's like the result is that the weight is lifted from them and a weight is lifted from me. And I realize I should not have become angry in the first place.
That's great. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, let's go on again.
Okay. So this next paragraph. When one offers respect to the body, it is not to the material body, but to the presence of the Supreme Lord. Thus, one who is always in meditation upon the Supreme Lord is always offering him obeisances. But since Daksha was not very elevated, he thought that obeisances were offered to the material body. And because Lord Shiva did not offer respect to his material body, Daksha became envious. Such persons, being unable to rise to the standard of self-realized souls like Lord Shiva, are always envious. The example given here is very suitable. Asuras, demons or atheists, are always envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They simply want to kill him. Even in this age, we find some so-called scholars commenting on Bhagavad Gita who are envious of Krishna. When Krishna says, Manmana bhavama bhakta, Bhagavad Gita 1865, always think of me, become my devotee, and surrender unto me. The so-called scholars comment that it is not to Krishna that we have to surrender. That is envy. The asuras or atheists, the demons, without reason or cause, are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, instead of offering respect to self-realized persons, foolish men who cannot approach the highest standard of self-realization are always envious, although there's no reason. Wow, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
What reason does one have to be envious of someone who's full of good qualities? You know? But to speak of the reservoir of good qualities, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is the reason for that? Where is the sense in it? In other places in Shastra, we read what happens to people who maintain an envious attitude towards saintly, faultless personalities. Their duration of life, their intelligence, their good fortune, their health and well-being, everything just falls into tatters. It's an unfortunate position. But that's pretty much symptomatic of this particular age. And we see even in previous ages, as in the case of the great Prajapati Daksha, that these kinds of character traits can become manifest if we are steeped in materialism and forgetful of our relationship with the Supreme. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see. Oh, Tulsi Priya Mataji, if you would like to read next verse, please.
Could I say something before we
Sure,
start
sure.
the next verse? I was thinking how Daksha was envious of Lord Shiva because of Lord Shiva's greatness. And we see that often envy comes out for two reasons. One, you see someone who's actually greater than you and you can't stand it. You just can't stand it. And then the other way it comes out is if you see someone who, something about them, they do something or they behave in a certain way that you just can't stand for whatever reason, then maybe you later, if you come to your senses by the grace of the Lord, you'll see, well, what I was seeing in that person that I couldn't stand was actually a bad quality that I myself have, but I couldn't see it, but I could see it in them and I couldn't stand it. And yeah, I was just thinking about, Srila Prabhupada and how his greatness and how some people just, for whatever reason, might call it envy. They couldn't stand it. Hare Krishna.
True, yes.
The material world.
That's a really interesting point. Daksha's complaint against Lord Shiva is that he's neglecting Daksha's great status as his father-in-law. But Lord Shiva wasn't doing any such thing. Daksha had the problem. He felt he was being neglected. Yeah, he felt he was the better personality, and he was minimizing the very thing that he was accusing Lord Shiva of thinking he was better than others, was his own fault.
Amanina, Amanadena, Kirtanya, Hari.
Very good. Yes. Yes. Is Tulsi Priya available?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but I could read in her place if you
Oh
like.
yeah, please. Thank you.
She can take over if she likes. We're on text number 22.
22, right?
Pratyudgama prashrayana bivandanam vidhiyate sadhu mita sumadhyame pragyaya parasmai purushaya chetasa guha shayayaiva nadehamanine. My dear young wife, certainly friends and relatives offer mutual greetings by standing up, welcoming one another, and offering obeisances. But those who are elevated to the transcendental platform, being intelligent, offer such respects to the supersoul who is sitting within the body, not to the person who identifies with the body. That sounds like an indictment right there.
That's right.
Purport. It may be argued that since Daksha was the father-in-law of Lord Shiva, it was certainly the duty of Lord Shiva to offer him respect. In answer to that argument, it is explained here that when a learned person stands up or offers obeisances in welcome, he offers respect to the supersoul who is sitting within everyone's heart. Among Vaishnavas, therefore, it is seen that even when a disciple offers obeisances to his spiritual master, the spiritual master immediately returns the obeisances because they are mutually offered not to the body, but to the supersoul. Therefore, the spiritual master also offers respect to the supersoul situated in the body of the disciple. The Lord says in Srimad Bhagavatam that offering respect to his devotee is more valuable than offering respect to him. Devotees do not identify with the body, so offering respect to a Vaishnava means offering respect to Vishnu. It is stated also that as a matter of etiquette, as soon as one sees a Vaishnava, one must immediately offer him respect, indicating the supersoul sitting within. A Vaishnava sees the body as a temple of Vishnu. Since Lord Shiva had already offered respect to the supersoul in Krishna consciousness, offering respect to Daksha, who identified with his body, was already performed. There is no need to offer respect to his body, for that is not directed by any Vedic injunction. Om Jnana-timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Somehow this purport makes me think of an experience I've had many times going to a great festival, say New York Rath Yatra, for example. You go to New York Rath Yatra and there's so many exalted personalities there. And you want to offer respects constantly and practically just stay on the ground because there's so many of them there. But then you see that you don't want to have them have to offer obeisances to you too. So you don't do it, but you do it. It's a difficult situation to be in.
Yes,
But it's a very sweet purport here. He's speaking of how obeisances are actually offered to Krishna, and the body of a Vaishnava is being used for no other purpose than serving the Lord. The supersoul is certainly there, as it is there in the body of crickets and grasshoppers and trees and everybody else. But because there's so much attention given to the supersoul by the Vaishnava, that's like an active temple as opposed to a under construction temple. It's a very, very clearly indicated. It's like seeing the chakra atop the temple. You know that devotional service is going on there, so you offer obeisances. When we were happy enough to stay in Puri for some time, we stayed at a place that as we went up on the roof, we could see the flags and the chakra from the temple. So that was good enough for us. We'd go up and offer our obeisances to Lord Jagannath whenever we wanted to. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Haridas Thakur used to do that all the time in Jagannath Puri. Pay obeisances to the chakra. Nice. Thank you, Kendra Prabhu. We have Ross Prabhu now next. Request him to read number 23.
Yes. Sattvam Visudam Vasudeva Sabditam Yad Iyate Tatra Kuman Aparvrata Sattve Cha Tasmin Bhagavan Vasudeva Vi Adoksajo Me Namasa Vidiyati. Translation: I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva. In pure Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, is revealed without any covering. Purport: the living entity is constitutionally pure. Asango hi ayam purusha. In the Vedic literature, it is said that the soul is always pure and uncontaminated by material attachment. The identification of the body with the soul is due to misunderstanding. As soon as one is fully Krishna conscious, it is to be understood that one is in his pure, original, constitutional position. This state of existence is called Suddha Sattva, which means that it is transcendental to the material qualities. Since this Suddha Sattva existence is under the direct action of the internal potency, in this state, the activities of material consciousness stop. For example, when iron is put into a fire, it becomes warm, and when red hot, although it is iron, it acts like fire. Similarly, when copper is surcharged with electricity, its action as copper stops. It acts as electricity. Bhagavad Gita 14:26 also confirms that anyone who engages in unadulterated devotional service to the Lord is at once elevated to the position of pure Brahman. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samitiyaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Therefore, Suddha Sattva, as described in this verse, is the transcendental position, which is technically called Vasudeva. Vasudeva is also the name of the person from whom Krishna appears. This verse explains that the pure state is called Vasudeva, because in that state, Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is revealed without any covering. To execute unadulterated devotional service, therefore, one must follow the rules and regulations of devotional service without desire to gain material profit by fruitive activities or mental speculation. In pure devotional service, one simply serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a matter of duty, without reason and without being impeded by material conditions. That is called Suddha Sattva, or Vasudeva, because in that stage, the Supreme Person, Krishna, is revealed in the heart of the devotee. Srila Jiva Goswami has very nicely described this Vasudeva, or Suddha Sattva, in his Bhagavad Sandarbha. He explains that Astotara Satta 108 is added to the name of the spiritual master to indicate one who is situated in Suddha Sattva, or in the transcendental state of Vasudeva. The word Vasudeva is also used for other purposes. For example, Vasudeva also means one who is everywhere or all-pervading. The sun is also called Vasudeva Sabditam. The word Vasudeva may be utilized for different purposes, but whatever purpose we adopt, Vasudeva means the all-pervading or localized Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita 7:19, it is also stated, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. The actual realization is to understand Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and surrender unto him. Vasudeva is the ground wherein Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is revealed. When one is free from the contamination of material nature and is situated in pure Krishna consciousness, or in the Vasudeva state, Vasudeva, the Supreme Person, is revealed. This state is also called Kaivalya, which means pure consciousness. Jnanam Satvikam Kaivalyam. When one is situated in pure transcendental knowledge, one is situated in Kaivalya. Therefore, Vasudeva also means Kaivalya, a word which is generally used by impersonalists. Impersonal Kaivalya is not the last stage of realization. In Krishna consciousness Kaivalya, when one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one is successful. In that pure state, by hearing, chanting, remembering, etc., because of the development of knowledge of the science of Krishna, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All these activities are under the guidance of the internal energy of the Supreme Lord.
Okay, we can stop here now. And there's so much to digest here. And the purport is long. So, yeah, well, since you read, maybe you can say something about Vasudeva and Vasudeva, right?
Vasudeva versus Vasudeva. Maybe someone knows more than me on that subject.
Okay, no problem. Yes, we will. Somebody, yes. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. So, yeah, Vasudeva, that's like a Shuddha Tattva. And from there, Vasudeva is the name of Krishna, because he's the son of Vasudeva, and that's why he's called Vasudeva. That's what that's all I know about Vasudeva and Vasudeva. But here, also Jiva Goswami nicely explains Shuddha Sattva in his Bhagavat Sandarbha. And he says about 108 name added to the name of spiritual master. And because he is situated in the Shuddha Tattva, in transcendental state of Vasudeva. So there's two things here, Vasudeva and Vasudeva. Vasudeva is a Shuddha Tattva, even about goodness. There's a mode of goodness, and about the mode of goodness, we should try to go above mode of goodness, that is Vasudeva Tattva. Okay. Anybody else?
There was a comment from before from Panchatattva Prabhu. And this is in regard to the previous verse about offering obeisances to the super soul. Right. He says, it's interesting that once in a conversation with a devotee, I said that when we offer obeisances, we offer respect to the super soul in the heart of a devotee. He accused me of impersonalism. What can be done?
Actually, it's true that we do offer our respect, because we consider body as a temple. And in the temple, as a soul and super soul lives, we offer respect to the super soul along with the soul also. So it's not impersonal, it's personal. And we all have to be very, very careful to give respect to our superior, and giving greetings to our same level, and have pity to the one who is innocent. So it's a natural natural thing to do, to give our obeisances, respect to the friends or superior to us. And it's a personal thing, actually. It's nothing impersonal.
Prabhu, I was just noticing you had brought up the difference between Vasudeva and Vasudeva.
Mm-hmm.
And Ross Prabhu, out of his humility, declined to comment on that. But I was able to find some things in the commentary on this very verse from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that address that very point. Would it be okay if I read some?
Sure, please read.
Lord Shiva is speaking about his offering of respect to Vasudeva. And he says, samadhi on the Lord is not dependent on me. I am dependent on the Lord. He's what he's presenting here as if he's presenting Lord Shiva's thinking.
Mm.
I am dependent on the Lord. I cannot make a rule for when he will appear. The spiritual antakarana, or the spiritual body, is called Vasudeva, or another meaning is the spiritual state, sattvam, like you mentioned, Prabhu, composed of the actions of Chit Shakti, is the producer of the Lord's appearance, Vasudeva. Why? It is because in that spiritual mind, or the state composed of the Chit Shakti, the Lord's potency of what is it? Chit, existence. The Lord without covering, apavrita, called Vasudeva, appears. The meaning of the word Vasudeva is, quote, he who makes his appearance in the state of Vasudeva. He appears in the pure antakarana. Thus, Vasudeva refers to my pure antakarana, in other words, like spiritual body. Moreover, the Supreme Lord dwells there. Therefore, the antakarana is called Vasu. He really gets into it here. Because it is completely spiritual, it is called Deva. So Vasudeva, that is the derivation of the word Vasudeva. In the antakarana, sattve, the Lord appears, but he is beyond the material senses and is served or is particularly meditated upon by respects, which indicates other services as well. That goes on, but I just thought that was interesting that he really addresses this point. And Ravindra Swarup Prabhu likes to say sometimes that Vasudeva is a patronymic, like we have in English surnames. We have Johnson, or meaning the son of John. And so when you have Vasudeva as the father, then Vasudeva is the son of Vasudeva. He who comes from Vasudeva. But Srila Vishwanath really goes to town here in his explication of that word. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. Panchatattva, go ahead, please.
Just two things. I noted that statement. This son is also called Vasudeva Sabditam. And in regard to Akendra Prabhu's nice quotes regarding the Vasudeva appearing from the Vasudeva state, here it's said in the purport succinctly by Prabhupada, Vasudeva is the ground wherein Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is revealed. And of course, Prabhupada goes on to explain that once you're free from contamination of material nature and situated in pure Krishna consciousness, Vasudeva is revealed to you.
Thank you very much. So we are approaching that time again. And I would like Krishna Kaunteya Prabhu, you are on.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo, Nitai Go, Haribo, 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 Nitai Go, Premanande, Hari Haribo. Jaya Vistupat, Hamsa Pariraja Gacharya Astuta, Satishvat, Sri Srima, His Divine Grace, Sheila Jai Gaur Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Go Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories Sri Sri Radha Krishna Ki Jai, all glories. Hari Bol.
Jai Jai. Thank you so much, Krishna Kante Prabhu. And thank you for hosting us tonight, Mahesh Pandit Prabhu. Jai Jai.
Responded. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Oh,
And-
now take my hand down.
Oh, I thought you had something important to say.
I just
You
stand
always
around
do.
like this all day.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur.
You should have a way you can put two hands up.
That's right, yes.
Zoom should work on that. Yes. So hopefully we'll see Maharaj tomorrow, Thursday. If he didn't say he was having two concurrent overnight train trips, just one. So Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends Ki Jai.
Dr. Brinda ki jai. Hari Bol.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.